The rain in Seattle didn't wash things clean. It just made the grime slicker. Lucas Bennett stood under the awning of a closed laundromat, checking his phone. The screen was cracked, a spiderweb fracture over the time, 6:45 a.m. He was 15 minutes early, but his nerves had been vibrating like a plucked guitar string since 4 a.m. Beside him, gripping his hand with a strength that belied her size, was Lily. "Daddy, my chest feels heavy," Lily whispered, her voice small, muffled by the oversized scarf wrapped around her neck. Lucas crouched down instantly, ignoring the damp pavement soaking into the knees of his only good pair of slacks. He placed a hand on her back, feeling the rattle of her breath. "I know, Buck. I know. Did you take the puffer?" "Yes," she nodded, clutching the worn plush rabbit, Mr. Hops, who was missing an ear. "We're going to a warm house today," Lucas promised, brushing a damp curl from her forehead. "A really big house. Like a castle. And once I get this job, we're going to get you the new medicine. The one the doctor promised works better." "Okay." Lily nodded, trusting him with the absolute, terrifying faith of a 6-year-old. Lucas stood up, swallowing the lump of panic that lived permanently in his throat these days. He was 31, but he felt 50. 2 years ago, he had been a project manager for a boutique construction firm. He had a wife, a mortgage, a plan. Then came the cancer diagnosis for his wife, the insurance caps, the layoffs, the debt, and finally, the funeral. Now he was a man with a negative bank balance, a rusted sedan that wouldn't start, and a resume that screamed overqualified for labor and too risky for corporate. This job was a Hail Mary. House manager for the Vance estate. The pay was absurd. 6 figures, room and board, full medical. It was too good to be true, which usually meant it was a trap. But for Lily's lungs, Lucas would walk into a bear trap with a smile. The gates of the Vance estate were not welcoming. They were black iron spikes rising 20 feet into the gray sky. Lucas buzzed the intercom. "Name." A metallic voice crackled. "Lucas Bennett." "For the interview." The gates groaned open. As they walked up the winding driveway, the mansion revealed itself, a brutalist masterpiece of concrete and glass, perched on a cliff edge like a predator waiting to pounce. It didn't look like a home. It looked like a headquarters for a villain in a spy movie. "Is the princess inside?" Lily asked, looking at the towering glass walls. "Something like that," Lucas muttered. The interview wasn't conducted by HR. It was conducted by her. Evelyn Vance sat behind a desk that looked like a slab of obsidian. She was 33, with hair the color of spun gold and eyes like shattered glacier ice. She wore a tailored suit that probably cost more than Lucas's accumulated lifetime earnings. She didn't look up when they entered. She was typing on a holographic keyboard projected onto the desk surface. "You're late," she said. "I'm 10 minutes early, Ms. Vance," Lucas said, keeping his voice steady. "You're late for my schedule," she snapped, finally looking up. Her gaze swept over Lucas, cataloging every fray on his collar, every scuff on his shoes. Then her eyes landed on Lily. "I wasn't aware this was a daycare facility." "My daughter comes with me," Lucas said, his tone hardening just a fraction. "The agency said live-in implies family accommodation." "She's quiet. She won't be in the way." Evelyn leaned back, steepled her fingers. "My last house manager lasted 3 days. The one before that, 6 hours. Do you know why?" "Because you have high standards," Lucas ventured. "Because they were incompetent idiots who thought good enough was an acceptable metric," Evelyn corrected. "I run a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, Mr. Bennett. My home is an extension of my workspace. If my coffee is 2 degrees too cold, it disrupts my focus. If my focus is disrupted, I lose money. If I lose money, people lose jobs. Do you understand the chain of command?" "I understand precision," Lucas said. "I used to manage construction sites. A millimeter off means the building falls down. I can handle coffee." Evelyn stared at him for a long, uncomfortable silence. She was assessing him, looking for the crack. Finally, she slid a tablet across the desk. "These are the NDAs. Sign them. You start immediately. The guest house is behind the east wing. It's small, but I assume it's an upgrade from whatever cardboard box you're currently residing in." Lucas didn't flinch at the insult. He couldn't afford to. He picked up the stylus. "Thank you, Ms. Vance." As they turned to leave, Lily, who had been hiding behind Lucas's leg, peeked out. You're very pretty, she said softly. Evelyn blinked, taken aback for a microsecond. Then the ice reformed. And you have dirt on your cheek. The first month was a masterclass in psychological warfare. The guest house was indeed an upgrade, a sleek one-bedroom apartment with heated floors. For the first time in a year, Lily slept through the night without coughing, thanks to the high-end air filtration system. For that alone, Lucas would have endured torture. And torture it was. Evelyn Vance was not just demanding. She was a tyrant of minutiae. Week 1, Lucas spent 4 hours polishing the silverware. Evelyn inspected it, found a single water spot on a dessert spoon, and swept the entire tray onto the floor. Do it again. And be grateful I don't charge you for the scratches. Week 2, he prepared her requested lunch, poached salmon with asparagus. She took one bite, spat it into a napkin, and told him it tasted like poverty and failure. She demanded he drive into the city to pick up a salad from a specific bistro, a 2-hour round trip, while she timed him. Week 3, it was raining. Evelyn called him from the driveway. She didn't want to get her shoes wet walking from the car to the porch, a distance of 10 feet. She made Lucas lay his coat down over a puddle. When he hesitated, she raised an eyebrow. Do you want the medical insurance, Mr. Bennett? Or do you want your pride? He laid the coat down. The worst part wasn't the work. It was the dehumanization. She never called him by his name. It was always you, or house manager, or hey. She treated him like an automated appliance that occasionally malfunctioned. But Lucas watched her. He saw the way she drank wine alone in the dark of her massive living room. He saw the way she stared at her phone, waiting for calls that never came. He saw the way her father, a titan of industry who appeared on the news, critiqued her public appearances with brutal efficiency on speakerphone while she stood rigid, taking the verbal beating. She's sad, Daddy, Lily said one evening, watching from their window as Evelyn paced the garden, smoking a thin cigarette. She's not sad, Bug. Lucas sighed, rubbing his aching back. She's just mean. People are mean when they hurt, Lily insisted. The breaking point began to form on a Tuesday night in November. Evelyn returned from a charity gala. It was late, past 2 a.m. Lucas was in the kitchen, prepping the morning's pastry dough. She insisted on fresh croissants daily. The front door slammed. Lucas wiped his hands and went to the foyer. Evelyn was leaning against the wall, one heel broken off. Her hair was disheveled, lipstick smeared. She reeked of expensive champagne. Ms. Vance, Lucas asked cautiously. She looked up, her eyes unfocused. They're all vultures, she slurred. Every single one of them. Oh, Evelyn, great quarter. Oh, Evelyn, you look so much like your mother. They didn't even like her. She stumbled, nearly falling face first onto the marble. Lucas caught her. For a moment, the dynamic shifted. She wasn't the billionaire CEO. She was a woman who weighed nothing, trembling in his arms. He smelled jasmine and vodka. Let go of me, she murmured, but she didn't push him away. She leaned her head against his chest. Why is it so cold in here? I pay a fortune for heating. Why is it always cold? Let's get you to the sofa, Lucas said gently. He helped her into the living room. She collapsed onto the white leather couch. She looked at him, really looked at him, through the haze of alcohol. You have kind eyes, she whispered. My father has shark eyes. You have dog eyes. Loyal dog. She reached out, her hand brushing his cheek. It was a clumsy, confusing gesture. Lucas froze. He was a man, she was a beautiful woman, but the power dynamic was a minefield. I'm going to get you some water, Lucas said, pulling back respectfully. Don't leave, she said, her voice cracking. Please. It was the please that did it. Lucas sat on the ottoman nearby, just waiting until she fell asleep. He took off her broken shoes. He covered her with a cashmere throw. When he finally left, he felt the strange pang of pity for the dragon in the castle. The next morning, the pity died. Lucas was serving breakfast, coffee, 185 degrees Fahrenheit, croissants, flaky. Evelyn walked in. She was wearing sunglasses indoors. Her posture was rigid. She remembered. Or at least, she remembered enough to be humiliated. The coffee, she said, taking a sip. She slammed the cup down. It's burnt. It's exactly as. I said it's burnt, she screamed. The veneer of icy calm shattered. Are you trying to poison me? Is that it? You think because I had a moment of indisposition last night that we are friends? That you can serve me garbage? Ms. Vance, I simply helped you to the couch. You touched me, she hissed, without permission. If you ever lay a hand on me again, I will have you arrested for assault. Do you understand? You are the help. You are nothing. She stood up, pacing manically. And that child of yours. I saw her in the garden yesterday. She was digging in the rose beds. It's disgusting. Keep her in a cage where she belongs. Lucas felt his blood turn cold. Insult him? Fine. Insult Lily? She was planting a flower, Lucas said, his voice dropping an octave. For you. I don't want her weeds. Evelyn grabbed the plate of croissants and threw it. It smashed against the wall, crumbs exploding like shrapnel. Clean this up. And if I see that brat outside the guest house again, you're fired. No reference. No severance. And good luck paying for her lungs then. She stormed out. Lucas stood amidst the wreckage of breakfast. His hands were shaking, not with fear, but with a dark, clarifying rage. He couldn't leave. He needed the insurance. The new treatment for Lily started next week. He was trapped, but he was done being a victim. If you want to treat me like a criminal, Lucas thought, I'll start gathering evidence for the trial. That afternoon, while Evelyn was at the office, Lucas ordered 3 items online with rush delivery. A digital clock with a hidden 4K lens, a smoke detector with a pinhole camera, a USB charger with audio recording capabilities. He wasn't going to blackmail her. He was just going to ensure that when she inevitably fired him for some made-up infraction to deny him unemployment, he would have proof of the hostile work environment. It was insurance. He didn't know it would become a weapon. 2 weeks later, the cameras were installed. 1 in the kitchen, 1 in the living room, 1 in the hallway. The tension in the house was palpable. Evelyn was unraveling. A merger was failing at work, and she was bringing the stress home, distilling it into pure venom directed at Lucas. It was a Thursday. Lily had come home from school early with a fever. Lucas had her set up in the corner of the kitchen with her coloring books, quiet as a mouse, while he prepped dinner for Evelyn's board members who were coming over. Evelyn stormed in at 5 p.m. She was early. Why is she here? Evelyn pointed a manicured finger at Lily. She has a fever. I couldn't leave her alone in the guest house, Lucas explained, chopping vegetables rapidly. I'm hosting the chairman of the Federal Reserve in 2 hours. Evelyn shrieked. I cannot have a sick, coughing germ factory in my kitchen. She's not coughing. She's coloring. Get her out. Lily, terrified by the shouting, knocked over her cup of apple juice. It spilled onto the floor, a tiny puddle. Evelyn looked at the puddle as if it were toxic waste. She looked at Lucas. Then a switch flipped. You are useless, she said, her voice eerily calm now. You can't clean. You can't cook. You can't even control your spawn. She walked over to the stove where a pot of tomato bisque was simmering. It was boiling hot. Ms. Vance, please step back, Lucas warned. Is this the soup? She asked. Is this the swill you plan to serve my guests? It's a bisque. It needs to reduce. It's garbage. Evelyn grabbed the pot handle. Don't, Lucas said, stepping forward. She didn't throw it at him. That would be too obvious. Instead, she deliberately tipped the pot. The boiling red liquid cascaded off the stove, splashing onto the floor and splashing onto Lucas's shoes and shins. Lucas hissed in pain, jumping back. The heat seared through his pants. But worse, some of the splatter landed on Lily's coloring book, inches from her hand. Lily screamed, scrambling back, dropping Mr. Hops into the boiling mess. Oops, Evelyn said, her face devoid of emotion. Clumsy. Clean it up. You have an hour before the guests arrive. If it's not spotless, and if I see that child again, I will call Child Protective Services and tell them you're keeping her in an unsafe environment. I'll show them the burns on her clothes that you caused. She turned on her heel and walked out. Lucas didn't move for 10 seconds. He ignored the burning on his legs. He went to Lily, checking her skin. She was untouched, just terrified. He picked up the ruined, tomato-soaked rabbit. He looked up at the smoke detector on the ceiling. The tiny green light blinked once. Got you. Lucas didn't clean the floor. He took Lily to the guest house, treated his burns, gave her dinner, and put on a movie for her. Daddy has to go do something brave, he told her. Stay here. He walked back to the main house. The guests were due in 20 minutes. Evelyn was in the library, drinking a scotch, waiting. She looked up as he entered. She frowned. He wasn't wearing his uniform. He was wearing his jeans and a flannel shirt. Why aren't you changed? She asked. And why does the kitchen smell like burnt tomato? I'm not serving dinner tonight, Evelyn, Lucas said. He used her first name. She froze. Excuse me? And I'm not cleaning up the mess you made. You're fired, she said instantly. Get out. You have 10 minutes to vacate the premises before I call security. No, Lucas said. He pulled his phone out of his pocket. First, we're going to watch a movie. He tapped the screen and held it up. He cast it to the massive 80-inch TV on the library wall. The footage began. High definition. Crisp audio. It showed the kitchen. It showed Lily sitting quietly. It showed Evelyn entering like a storm. It captured every scream. It captured the moment she tipped the boiling soup. It captured the threat to call CPS and frame him. The silence in the library was heavier than the concrete walls. Evelyn's face went pale. Not white, but gray. She set her drink down, her hand shaking so hard the crystal clattered against the coaster. That's illegal, she whispered. Recording without consent. Actually, Lucas said, his voice cold and steady. In this state, it's a one-party consent law for audio and video inside a workplace, which you so frequently remind me this is legal if it doesn't infringe on bathroom privacy. But let's say it is illegal. Let's say you sue me. He stepped closer. I'll send this to the board of directors. I'll send it to the news stations. Billionaire heiress burns single dad and threatens child. How will your merger go then? How will your father react? Evelyn shrank back into her chair. For the first time, she looked small. The monster was just a scared little girl in a power suit. What do you want? She choked out. Money? I can write you a check. 10,000. 50. I don't want your money, Lucas said. I want you to listen. He pulled a chair opposite her and sat down. You are a bully. You are miserable, so you try to make everyone else miserable. You threatened my daughter. You destroyed the one toy she has from her mother. You burned me. I didn't mean to burn the child, Evelyn stammered. But you didn't care if you did. Lucas leaned in. Here is what is going to happen. I am quitting, but I am keeping this video. It goes on a hard drive in a safety deposit box. If you ever try to blacklist me, or hurt my reputation, or threaten my custody of Lily, this video goes public. If I hear a whisper of you treating another employee like this, it goes public. He stood up. Goodbye, Ms. Vance. He turned to leave. Wait. Evelyn's voice was desperate. Please. The guests are coming in 5 minutes. I can't cook. I can't host them alone. Lucas laughed. A dry, humorless sound. Better order pizza. Lucas moved them into a cheap motel that night. It was a step down, but the air tasted cleaner. He expected to feel triumphant. Instead, he felt hollow. He was unemployed again. The medical bills were looming. But 2 days later, his phone buzzed. It wasn't Evelyn. It was a news alert. Vance Global CEO in meltdown. Lucas clicked the link. It wasn't his video. It was a recording from a guest at the dinner party that night. The video showed Evelyn, drunk and disheveled, trying to serve pizza to the chairman of the Federal Reserve. She was screaming at the guests, having a full mental breakdown, ranting about how everyone abandoned her, about how she was a fraud. The article speculated she was on drugs. The stock plummeted 15% overnight. The board suspended her pending an investigation. Lucas watched the video. He saw the woman who had terrorized him, but he also saw the woman who had cried on his shoulder about being cold. Daddy, is that the mean lady? Lily asked, looking at the screen. Yeah. She looks very sad now, Lily said. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a drawing. It was a picture of a crude butterfly. Maybe she needs a friend. She doesn't deserve friends, Bug. Everyone deserves a friend, Lily said stubbornly. Even monsters. That's how they stop being monsters. Lucas looked at his daughter. He looked at the drawing. He thought about the video on his hard drive. He held the power to bury Evelyn Vance forever, to finish what the dinner party started. But Lucas was a good man. That was his flaw. A week later, there was a knock on the motel door. Lucas opened it, expecting the landlord asking for rent. It was Evelyn. She looked different. She wasn't wearing a suit. She was wearing jeans and a sweater. No makeup. Her hair was tied back in a messy bun. She looked tired, older, and human. "How did you find us?" Lucas asked, blocking the doorway. "I hired a PI. It took 5 minutes." "You're not exactly hiding," she said. Her voice lacked the sharp edge. It was just weary. "What do you want?" "I haven't released the video." "I know," she said. "I'm here to ask why." "Why what? Why didn't you?" "The whole world is kicking me while I'm down. You have the smoking gun. You could have sold it to TMZ for 6 figures. Why didn't you?" Lucas looked back at Lily, who was sleeping on the other bed. "Because I'm not you," Lucas said. Evelyn flinched. She looked down at her sneakers. "I deserve that." She took a deep breath. "I was fired today. My father voted to remove me. I lost the company. I lost the house. Well, I have the house, but the bank is freezing my assets." "I'm sorry," Lucas said, and he meant it. "I'm not," Evelyn said. She looked up, and her eyes were clear. "I hated that job. I hated who I became to keep it. When you showed me that video, I saw my father. I saw the person I swore I'd never be." She reached into her bag. She pulled out a box. "I can't pay you a salary right now. I don't have access to my accounts. But I found this." She handed him the box. Lucas opened it. Inside was a vintage plush rabbit. It wasn't Mr. Pops, but it was an expensive antique velvet bunny. "I know it doesn't replace the one I ruined," Evelyn said softly, "but I wanted to try." She hesitated. "I have a proposition. Not a job offer. A request." "I'm listening." "The mansion is a mess. I'm alone there. I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to turn on the washing machine. I'm helpless. And I'm scared." She looked him in the eye. "Come back. Not as a servant. As a roommate. A manager. I don't know. I have the house. I have food stocks. You and Lily can live there for free. Just help me learn how to be a person. Help me stop being the monster." Lucas looked at the rabbit. He looked at Evelyn, stripping away her pride in the doorway of a Motel 6. He thought of the medical bills. He thought of Lily's heavy chest. "I have conditions," Lucas said. "Anything. 1. You never yell at Lily again. 2. You apologize to her. Face to face. 3. You learn to make your own damn coffee." Evelyn let out a breath that sounded like a laugh. "Deal." They moved back in. The dynamic was weird at first. The house was quiet without the staff, without the parties. It felt like a shipwreck they were inhabiting. Lucas taught Evelyn how to scramble eggs. She burned them 4 times. They laughed about it. He taught her how to operate the vacuum. She treated it like an alien artifact. But the real change happened with Lily. One afternoon, Lucas was fixing a leak in the roof. He came down to find Evelyn and Lily in the living room. Evelyn was sitting on the floor, on the white marble she used to worship. She was wearing yoga pants. Lily was teaching her how to color. "You have to stay in the lines," Lily was instructing. "It's harder than it looks," Evelyn muttered, tongue poking out the corner of her mouth in concentration. "It's okay. Mistakes are happy accidents," Lily quoted her dad. Evelyn looked up and saw Lucas watching. She didn't scowl. She smiled. It was a tentative, fragile thing, but it was real. "We're making a masterpiece," Evelyn said. 3 months passed. Evelyn was still fighting legal battles, but she was happier. She gained a little weight. Her skin looked healthier. One rainy Tuesday, Lucas came home from a part-time job he picked up. He insisted on working, not just mooching. Evelyn was in the kitchen. She had flour on her nose. "Sit," she commanded. Lucas sat. "What's happening?" "I made something." She placed a plate in front of him. It was a croissant. It was lumpy, slightly burnt on the bottom, and shaped like a kidney bean. "Try it." Lucas took a bite. It was dense and chewy. Well, she asked, anxious. It's... Lucas chewed. It's the best thing I've ever tasted. Evelyn beamed. Liar. It's terrible. But I made it. She sat down across from him. She reached across the table and took his hand. Her hand was warm now. Thank you, she said. For what? Lying about the pastry. For saving me, she said. If you hadn't recorded me, if you hadn't stopped me, I would be alone in this fortress, counting my money until I died. You broke the spell. Lucas squeezed her hand. You saved yourself, Evelyn. You just needed a mirror. The story ends not with a wedding or a billion-dollar windfall, but with a Tuesday evening. The Vance estate has changed. The iron gates are open. The garden is overgrown with wildflowers because Lily likes them, and Evelyn fired the landscaping team that insisted on rigid symmetry. Evelyn started a new company, a nonprofit funding arts programs for underprivileged kids. She works from home. She wears jeans. Lucas is the operations manager for the nonprofit. He and Evelyn aren't married, but they share the master suite. They argue about what movie to watch. They cook dinner together. The hidden cameras are still there, in a box in the attic, gathering dust. But on a mantelpiece, in a silver frame, is a photo. It's a selfie. It's grainy and out of focus. It shows a man with kind eyes, a little girl holding a velvet rabbit, and a woman with messy hair laughing so hard her eyes are crinkled shut. It's the only picture of Evelyn Vance that shows who she really is. Sometimes you have to burn the castle down to build a home.